Hello, my name is Tamara Smith, and my project is called Technology and Millennial Culture, How Social Media Influences Conventional Communication. So just for some background information, since the first functioning prototype of the internet in the late 1960s, human communication has rapidly evolved into a phenomenon that now affects the everyday lives of billions of people around the world. Millennials are born into a much different world than those that came before them. Their lives, in the form of cell phones, are quite literally in the palm of their hands every day. And researchers have noted that social networking as an online environment has changed the face of how quickly and why people tend to communicate around the world. Media has evolved dramatically in the last 20 years. And researchers have also noted that the emergence of new written media, such as instant messaging, is a clear sign that language has evolved just as dramatically and just as rapidly in the modern age. I believe that time has a profound influence on how language develops and changes. Millennials often use online terminology in conventional communication, also known as informal conversation. And I wanted to study how millennials use the same terminology in conventional communication and compare this behavior to how often they use it in its original environment, online. I developed a 20-question self-report survey to be administered online that measures not only the frequency of how often these terms are used both online and offline, but to measure the relationship correlation between these two behaviors, which was the purpose of conducting this research. The 57 participants of this study were mostly college-age students who volunteered to take a self-report questionnaire about their social media presence and activity and language adaptation. Given a list of 10 terms, they were asked to determine how many times a day they used each term online in communication and how many times a day they used each term offline in communication. Participants gave their answers based on a 5-item Likert scale. 1 was 1 to 15 times a day, 2 was 5 to 10 times a day, 3 was 10 to 15 times a day, and 4 was 15 or more times a day. 5 was I never used this term. The one-tailed paired samples t-test used to run this analysis only confirmed that college students spent about the same amount of time using online language in conventional communication as they did in online communication. And therefore, based on the responses given for 9 out of the 10 terms provided to participants, there are no specific differences among millennial behavior that indicates a positive or a negative correlation of language frequency between the online and offline environments. People often do things without realizing them, and I believe this is one of those things. I believe that social media and media in general will continue to have such a strong influence over how millennials think and act. But this influence doesn't have a strong physical presence, and I believe this is why it goes unnoticed and unchecked even. Media everywhere will continue to grow and evolve for several more generations, and there's really no telling how much language will evolve with it. But I do believe the two go hand in hand, and this is why it has such a strong influence over how millennials think and act today.